This is how you make me feel. This is how you make me feel. Oh, good, oh, great sunshine all day. This is how you make me feel. And I feel good.
So, hi Zheng Dao. Okay, he's a young man that I met a couple of years ago. When all these things, or when the SHIT hits the roof, hits the fan. Okay, and I managed to talk to this very very brave young man. Okay, but he's not going to talk about the vaccine today. But I want him to talk about another very important issue, right? But maybe you would like to, can you give everyone a little bit of background about yourself and why you are going to talk about the topic that you're talking about?
Okay, for someone who don't know me, right, I actually have
Yeah.
a diploma in landscape design and horticulture. So basically that is plant design and plant science in simple terms lah. So I'm passionate about the environment and I've been looking at all these environmental issues since I'm young. So when I'm young, I don't know if you all remember, I shared during my rally speech, one of the issues is the ozone layer having a hole, the hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah.
So that was painted as a world-ending kind of scenario back then. Really, really. So that was why
Yeah.
I got very concerned
That
back
was
then.
my time, okay, when I was growing up.
Same lah. I was in secondary school back then lah when this happened. Yeah. So that was simple facts about my background, and then I served my NS in the police force as well. So I have my experience inside the police force. But for today, I will be sharing about the green issues in the name of carbon tax, and all these net zero carbon emissions. Yeah, that's quite right.
It is as controversial as the vaccines.
Okay, that is up for people to decide. But
No,
interestingly enough,
yeah, there are many
uh,
scientists talking about this, and they are saying the climate change is a scam, the carbon thing is a scam, okay, and really we shouldn't just take whatever they say wholesale. Please do your own research, okay? But anyway, sorry, Tentao, please continue.
okay, no problem. Just to add on to what you said, I was reading a book back then regarding this climate issue. Because back then there were scientists that were actually arguing both sides. They went into the White House and they presented their facts. So the one group of scientists that's opposing the climate change, right? What they are saying is that basically it's not humans that is attributing a lot of effects to this climate change. Actually, it's the sunspots. So that's one theory, where the sun will actually give out a certain extra amount of heat, right? That will affect Earth in general. So this effect brought out by the sunspots, right, actually affects Earth temperatures more than our human emissions, which a lot of people like to base it on carbon dioxide. So that was their propology back then, their proponent, how they argue in White House. So from there, right, we must look at both sides of the coin. How logical are each party in their presentation arguments. So moving forward,
Oh, may
they
I
will
just say one thing? May I just say one thing? And the good news is that the Trump administration, I believe, they have already said that they're going to remove all the carbon tax, all the climate change things from their administration. So that is a win. Okay. So in view of this winning by the Trump administration, I think we have a very valid reason to talk about the issue that you're going to talk about, because they want to increase carbon tax, okay, which is going to affect all of us very seriously, okay? Yeah, sorry, please continue. I'm just trying to give them some really important information about what's coming and why they must vote for People's Power Party, because they are the only party that's talking about this carbon tax issue, which is going to affect our cost of living, everybody. Okay, please continue.
Thank you, Alice. As mentioned, right, so these carbon tax will not be going away. They actually introduced back a few years ago already in Parliament. But in my first rally speech, I did mention, if you all think that your cost of living is very high now, right, just imagine the next 5 years. What we all know is that GST possibly could be raised to 10%. Okay, that's an extra add-on effect. Then right now, this carbon tax is going to increase even further. Right now, the carbon tax we are looking at is around $25 per ton. You know, and in the next 5 years, it could rise up to $45 to $80 per ton. So that is more than double the increase, and that's on top of GST. So all these you factor in, how it multiplies, I leave it up to you guys to decide. Because this carbon tax will affect everybody in the same way as GST will probably affect. And the government answer is just to give out vouchers. Same thing, how they collect.
I mean, why do we need a carbon tax when carbon is such a small percentage of the gases in the atmosphere?
Correct. And the White House study where they argued methane and CFCs are the aerosols actually affect the global temperatures much more than carbon dioxide. So this law is kind of insane just in the name of going green, Just
Yes.
like something that people generals came up with.
But this issue actually, if you guys do the research, okay, in Europe, in Holland and all that, the farmers are rising up. People are rising up about this unfair carbon tax, and it's an issue that we all must pay attention to in Singapore because it will absolutely skyrocket our cost of living, right? So this is very, very, very important, and we must absolutely object. And today I found out that actually Workers' Party agreed to the carbon tax.
Wow. You're faster than me. Correct, and that's what, that's kind of shocking, People will be actually thinking that Workers' Party will be representing them, opposing the policies, but, well, that's surprising. They obviously never rejected and opposed the carbon tax. So let me just give you the official data and what they say according to today. So they say, right, it will affect our utility costs, okay? So it's projected to only increase our utility bills by approximately $4 for an average 4-room HDB flat. They're just saying that. So this $4 increase per year is what they believe will affect our livelihood in utility bills. So I don't know what the actual effect might be, but this is how the data they are presented out to the public.
I also understand that I think it was Derek who was mentioning about the difference in the carbon tax, like how in Singapore they actually want to tax the water for the carbon tax, which is a very basic essential, right?
Correct.
As
So that's
opposed
going to be affecting our utility bills as well.
And I remember our President Taman actually, in his WEF forums, and he's saying about the water tax. It's actually the globalists that seems to want to do all these carbon tax, and they are the ones who is absolutely benefiting from this, more so than the environment, I think, in my humble opinion. And I think this is absolutely wrong, right? That you are taxing the poor to enrich the rich.
That's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because you look at it this way, should water be a human right?
Of
That is
course.
already one argument on itself, really, which I don't want to go near. But we look at how carbon tax are going to affect businesses. This is one thing I want to bring up today also. So with SMEs and small regular businesses, right, they can move in and penalize you for the amount of carbon emissions they deem you to have or emit, And what's ironic about this is these small medium enterprises might be affected very, very big, Because there's something where this policy along the line, where they're saying, right, they can sell you carbon credit score. So rich companies and MNCs can actually buy carbon credit scores from other companies to make their companies looks like they are carbon net zero.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Repeat again?
Yeah.
You don't catch it?
No, I didn't catch it. Say it again.
Okay, so let me quote, according to what I asked ChatGPT, these carbon credits are valuable commodities that can be sold to companies or individuals who want or need to offset their own emissions.
So pay money, then the earth will be better.
So you can pay money to buy and lower your carbon emissions, carbon credits for. This is how this policy can be rolled out. So
Well,
wow.
it's actually all about money. It's a financial market. They want to commoditize everything. So that's why the Trump administration has basically effectively crippled this climate change nonsense, right? He's doing away with it, which is a good news for the entire world. And we should absolutely be in sync with what's happening internationally, right? And I think the PAP government is very upset because Donald Trump just spoiled their plans.
Just flip their plan. No, but you see, I'm an environment student. So when you tell me about carbon and net zero emissions, right, I will ask you along another way of reasoning. It's like, if it's in the name of environmental impact, why are we clearing so much land in Singapore, right, to build MRT tracks, to remove all the natural land we have, eco land, eco diversity we have, just to build so many new infrastructures. That's actually harming the environment more than all these kind of carbon tax and what.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the irony is that carbon is needed for plants. Am I right?
Correct.
I mean, you're a
Yes.
horticulturist, right? So
Mm.
actually, having excess carbon is good for plant life, right? But we are actually trying to cut down the very thing that is actually beneficial for vegetation to thrive. That's just unbelievable and totally illogical.
So all the activist group for all this environmental restoration and preservation, right? A few issues that I would like to raise up is one of them is the Kranji Woodland incident. Where one of the government bodies or affiliated one accidentally cleared out around 4.5 hectares of
Yeah,
woodland.
I saw
Ah,
that part.
you saw that part, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of animals and the biodiversity were accidentally cleared out 4.5 hectares. That is
Well,
one issue. The second
yeah.
issue I like to bring up is the Bukit Timah area developments. They're going to build MRT tracks over it. And all these, the extent and the specific data, how our building of infrastructure and all these will affect the environment are actually not really clear at this point. We don't know the exact extent. But people in the environmental groups have voiced out their concern, with all these developing land changes.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
think it's very important this topic because Singapore is the plants and the animals are also part of Singapore. The flora, fauna, and the animals, and they depend on us to protect them, right? So
right.
so it is very important that not in the name of progress or money. And I also hear that actually all these forests or like more like I would say not virgin land but basically more agricultural or like just not developed land is actually cheaper. That's why developers always like to go for these kind of lands, okay, when they build their things. I mean, this is what some people have shared with me, and yeah, so I think you are talking about a very important topic that is very native. I mean, it's very important. I mean, it's just like native Singaporeans. We need our native flora, fauna, and animals and all that. Otherwise, it's all going to be imported vegetation, imported gardens by the bay.
Yeah,
I mean,
would you
that's
like me
not.
to talk about would you like me to talk about AI also?
Oh yes, please. Forgot.
There was recently this meme about our teammate Samuel going on online, right? How he sing the song,
I look
and then it
level
become,
right. Look level right. That one.
yeah, correct. So actually, A lot of people laugh at it, you know, and whether it's cyberbullying or not is up to people to decide. By the end of the day, he is just voicing his emotions where he cannot find a job, and he's having to do private grad hire, even though he's a university graduate. So with the advance of AI, we are possibly looking at electric vehicles as well as self-driving cars. How these self-driving cars will affect the Grab industry, food delivery industry, we all don't know. Their jobs can be gone in an instant, overnight, after all these cars hit the market with this feature. So you can be laughing at him now, but in my rally, I talk about 5 years later, what's going to happen to all these Grab drivers. Even in the cleaning industry, we see robots being rolled out, you know, the cleaning
Yeah.
industry already. So how many jobs old people cannot do due to this, we also don't know.
Yes, and I think actually those robots, maybe the second line, the first line is actually more the people who are like in the more like intellectual business, like even like now ChatGPT is so good, you can even, I mean, I submit some of my law cases myself, so it can even replace lawyers. I mean, I'm not saying that it 100% can replace, but I'm just saying that, for things like marketing, you want to write things, like you want to promote
Yeah.
stuff, AI is absolutely changing the way we do business, absolutely changing the way we do work. And I believe that many young people are going to be jobless, and even old people are going to be jobless. I mean, if you're talking about the robots cleaning and all that, that's about the physical, automation. But the other ones where I thought you was bringing out a very good point is about the young people who spend a lot of money, okay, studying in a university, and then they graduate and actually there's no more jobs left for them, and then they actually have to leave Singapore. That's very sad.
Yeah. So actually, there's a study conducted recently, where a lot of people in Singapore, 61% or 61 prefer to live abroad, with the highest being Australia and Malaysia. So these are Singaporeans we are looking about. 61% of them wants to live abroad if given the choice. That's that's very sad. Especially when you think that, wow, Singapore is such a small nation, we are tightly built community. This doesn't seem to be the case according to this study.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any maybe my last question for you is, why did you step up to politics and why you joined PPP?
Why I stepped out to politics is really a lot of the laws I feel are just unjust. And even though I'm just 24 years old, sometimes I listen to what these ministers talk about. I'm bamboozled. That's the only word I can use with what they say, their recent comments. And I myself have my own personal experience in NS, where I refused to take the jab, and people were actually saying, if I don't take the jab, they want to throw me inside jail, detention barracks in NS terms. Yeah, so during that time, right, I was actually prepared to go inside jail, right, and God knows what will happen to me. So I don't want anybody in Singapore to experience this, just for standing up for my basic right, you know, then I face these kind of threats. So what Derek shared earlier just now, right, is a very possible scenario to happen to anyone in Singapore if they refuse to take anything.
Yes, and it's real. You experienced it yourself, the coercion, the threats to throw you some to barracks and stuff, which is very, very uncalled for, is when it's not even safe. Okay. That is something that, and the thing is that the leadership of this country hasn't even acknowledged, right? We have been saying for 3.5 years, right? They haven't even acknowledged, they haven't even apologized for pushing this, and the law is still there, which gives them the ability to be able to walk into our home the next pandemic comes, which is around the corner. Okay, it's not like COVID is over. Everybody just want to say, oh, COVID is over, let's get on with our lives. They're not
Yeah,
going to do this, they're not going to do this. Really, they did it. They did it. Can they be
as
trusted?
police officers, right? as police officer and someone who served in the SPF, one thing they highlighted and warned us about is the abuse of power. Every civil servant are familiar with this, the abuse of power. So they are warned against it. But in this case, why is this law even passed in the parliament? We can indemnify,
Well, the abuse
I
of
guess.
power, very interesting that you say, because on the 30th is when I'm going to find out whether there was any abuse of power by the government.
Yeah.
But it's
As
very
much,
real,
as
guys.
much as we are laughing here today, our experiences inside is not really fun at all. I mentally was dead back then. I was prepared to die back then already. I cannot see a way out back in the 2 years of service. So I understand and relate to you how you felt. And we are
Okay.
just trying to be good, ordinary citizens. It's
Yeah.
not like we are planning to overthrow something or create a terrorist attack or something like that. It's just us. We are trying to follow the law. We want to be good citizens. Why do they force us to become this way? It's very sad. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much, Zheng Dao, and for sharing with us your experience, your story, and your plans for the future. I wish you all the best, and you'll be standing in Ang Mo Kio, am I right?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
So
you
if you see
very
this young
much.
man walking around, he's the future of Singapore. He's the youngest candidate for this general elections, and I think he has a strong passion for Singapore. He has a strong passion for the environment, which is and he can be a good person to speak up about the carbon tax. Guys, if you want to pay extra carbon tax, vote for People's Power Party, because they are the only people in Singapore, okay, right now that is talking about this, and you absolutely need to share this so that we are not going to increase our standard of living. Please, you can vote for Workers' Party elsewhere, but for Tampines, please. Okay, please vote them. And of course, Workers' Party is not going to Ang Mo Kio, but but Ang Mo Kio, you are having another fight with another, is it Singapore United Party? Am I right? SUP?
Yeah, SUP. Correct.
Okay, so yeah. So anyway, just look for the torch, put a cross for Ang Mo Kio, okay?
Go.
All right,
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring Veer up.
This is how you make me feel. This is how you make me feel. Oh, good old green sunshine all day. This is how you make me feel. And I feel good.